Oktoberfest at UK theme parks? I wasn't a big fan last year. Now you may be asking, what do you want the parks to do differently this year? What are you expecting to have changed? A whole lot. Hello and welcome back to ThrillNet, bringing you everything thrill related in the UK and beyond via the internet. And today I'm bringing you a speculation video regarding what I think we can expect at the UK theme parks Oktoberfest events for 2021, along with what I would like to see from those events this year. Now you may be able to guess from this video's introduction that I wasn't a big fan of the 2020 Oktoberfest events at Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Blackpool Beach. And first of all in this video I'm going to be telling you a bit of a story regarding my journey with Oktoberfest and what has led me to make this very video. After that I'm then going to go on to express my thoughts regarding what I think we can expect to see at this year's Oktoberfest events at Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Blackpool Beach, while also highlighting what I personally would like to see at each of those events this year. Before I go any further though, I'd like you to comment down below what you think we can expect at this year's Oktoberfest events and what changes and improvements you would like to see made to them for 2021. Exactly 6 months ago, as of when this video was uploaded, I uploaded an Oktoberfest rant video to this channel. This was essentially a rant about the German themed Oktoberfest events that took place at Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Blackpool Beach throughout September and early October of 2020. The reason I made that rant video was because I disliked the events due to the fact that they interrupted the atmosphere of the parks with something that isn't recognised to a great extent in this country. Now, I mean no disrespect to the German culture by saying this, but try as I might to embrace the culture of these Oktoberfest events, it just wasn't for me. In that rant video, I announced my all new for 2021 Oktoberfest event, set to take place at Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Blackpool Beach as a replacement for Oktoberfest the following year. This event would see the return of the inflatable obstacle course used in Thorpe Park's 2019 Oktoberfest event with some added additions, with guests having the opportunity to jump off stealth at Thorpe Park, the chained oak tree near Alton Towers and big one at Blackpool Beach onto slime blocks on which they could bounce up and down on. If you like the sound of Oktoberfest, why not leave this video a like? Since this announcement, I've emailed the head of health and safety for UK theme parks regarding carrying out a risk assessment to ensure the event is safe and good for the go-ahead, and here's what he had to say in response.
Upon reviewing potential risks surrounding Oktoberfest, I'm sorry to announce that this event does not meet health and safety requirements. Therefore, it cannot go ahead. I apologise for any inconvenience caused.
So yeah, unfortunately, Oktoberfest cannot go ahead, and as a result, Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and Blackpool Beach have all since decided and announced that Oktoberfest will be returning for 2021. This really is devastating news and is the reason why I'm making this video. I hope the parks take on board the suggestions that I'm about to raise, because I really do feel that these will make their Oktoberfest events much more bearable for 2021 in comparison to how they were in 2020. So let's now talk about what Thorpe Park did during their Oktoberfest event in 2020. Well, two of the most major changes that were made around the park, and I mean let's face it, there were a lot of changes made to that park during Oktoberfest, was the introduction of themed ride announcements and ride soundtracks. They also sold food, drink, including alcohol, in the middle of a global pandemic, in the dockyard area of the park, where they also had entertainment going on. And for those who don't know, the dockyard area of Thorpe Park is the area that acts as the plaza for the Walking Dead The Ride indoor roller coaster, Darren Brown's Ghost Train Dark Ride and the Mega Store gift shop. Another thing Thorpe Park introduced during Oktoberfest was themed name changes, with Rumba Rapids, the name of their Rapids ride, being changed to Oompa Loompa Rapids. Well, it was actually simply known as Oompa Rapids. Unfortunately, there was no Charlie and the Chocolate Factory overhaul. Oh, and let's not forget the bang average German-influenced Island soundtrack remix, which replaced the regular Island soundtrack remix at the entrance to the park throughout the duration of the event. I'll never forgive you for this, Thorpe Park! Yes, in case you couldn't tell, I love the regular Island soundtrack that plays at the entrance to Thorpe Park. So, what do I think we can expect at this year's Thorpe Park Oktoberfest event? Well, I think the event is simply going to go downhill. What do I mean by that? Well, I think there's going to be more ride announcements on rides than there was in 2020, with Detonator and Stealth having Oktoberfest ride announcements added to them, and the other ride announcements throughout the park remaining unchanged. I think there's going to be more Oktoberfest themed ride soundtracks put on rides this season, along with more Oktoberfest themed ride name changes. I mean, imagine if Saw the Ride was changed to Oktoberfest the Ride, and Mr. Monkey's Banana Boat was changed to Mr. Monkey's Big Sausage. I mean, that sounds cool! Wow, I'm so immature. So you may be asking, why do I think these moves would be such a bad idea? Well, I just feel that Oktoberfest at any theme park or amusement park should be kept to one area. And last year, Thorpe spread it all over the place. And I mean, if they had more ride announcements and ride soundtracks, and I mean, they're bound to bring back that dreaded entrance soundtrack again. It just forces people into Oktoberfest. And honestly, especially with this being an event that's not that widely recognised in this country, I feel like that it should be an optional thing. People should have the option to embrace Oktoberfest vibes throughout the event if they wish. However, if others don't want to embrace the Oktoberfest vibes, then they shouldn't be forced to do so. And with Thorpe Park spreading the entire event throughout the park last year rather than keeping it to the dockyard area, which I would have rather they'd done, it felt as if you were being forced into the Oktoberfest atmosphere. What changes and improvements would I like to see to Thorpe Park's Oktoberfest event for 2021? Well, I'd like ride soundtracks and ride announcements to be kept solely to the dockyard area, or whatever the hub area is that Thorpe Park choose to hold Oktoberfest in this year. I also think that, like Alton Towers have done this year, it would be great to bring in funfair rides to the park, to which Oktoberfest themed soundtracks and announcements could be added. Essentially, I think the park should invest in exclusive Oktoberfest fairground rides, since the actual Oktoberfest celebration in Germany has fairground rides incorporated into it. Any exclusive Oktoberfest ride announcements and soundtracks and Bavarian Bingo, what the heck was that at Thorpe Park Oktoberfest last year, should be kept to those fairground rides solely. This would allow those who do not want to be associated with the Oktoberfest event, along with those who still want to enjoy Thorpe Park's existing rides and attractions for what they're known and loved for, to be able to do that, while those who do want to embrace the Oktoberfest culture to be able to do so on some temporary attractions that would not interfere with the park's existing atmosphere. Similarly, for this reason, I would prefer it if the park did not change any of the names of their existing rides and attractions during their Oktoberfest event. Other amendments I would like to see the park make for 2021 is cheaper food and drink prices. Many people have said that the food and drink sold at Thorpe Park's Oktoberfest 2020 event was very expensive. I know, typical Merlin money grabbing again. Therefore, I feel it is only right that this is made cheaper, especially when considering that most of the food and drink sold at this event can likely be bought in the local village of Thorpe for a much cheaper price. I also think that the park should open until 10 o'clock on weekends. Now, on Saturdays, the park opens as late as 8 o'clock, while opening until 7 o'clock on Fridays and 6 o'clock on Sundays. However, if Blackpool Pleasure Beach can open till 10 o'clock, then surely Thorpe Park can as well. As promised, I'm now going to go on to talk about Alton Towers and Blackpool Pleasure Beach's Oktoberfest events. But if you like what you're hearing so far, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. That way you'll become part of the Thrill Network and be notified about everything Thrill related in the UK and beyond via the internet, including more speculation videos like this one, as well as vlogs which are set to return to the channel next week when UK theme parks reopen for the 2021 season, along with plenty more content that will help ensure that you can enjoy theme and amusement parks in the UK and beyond to their full. So now let's move on to Alton Towers and what they did for their Oktoberfest 2020 event. Well, there's a much shorter list of things to get through than for Thorpe Park because they did much less. They sold food and drink on the main lawn at the end of Tower Street while also hosting entertainment here. However, I've also heard and seen in pictures that entertainment was also hosted outside of Wickerman, their 2018 wooden roller coaster manufactured by Great Coasters International, which has nothing to do with Oktoberfest. So why was Oktoberfest entertainment held there? In addition, the regular Tower Street soundtrack was replaced by an Oktoberfest themed soundtrack, and similarly to Thorpe Park, the park stayed open late up until 8 PM on weekends, with late openings set to return for this year's event. So what do I think we can expect during Alton Towers' 2021 Oktoberfest event? Well, the ride announcements, ride soundtracks and ride name changes were highly popular at Alton Towers' sister park, Thorpe Park. Therefore, unfortunately, I think it is inevitable that these will also make their way to Alton Towers. Now, funfair rides have already been spotted in areas of Alton Towers such as X Sector and Forbidden Valley, practically confirming that these are coming to the park for 2021. As I stated before, funfairs are typically part of the actual Oktoberfest celebration that takes place in Germany. Therefore, it would make sense that these funfair rides are incorporated into Alton Towers' 2021 Oktoberfest event. If these funfair rides are to be incorporated into the 2021 Oktoberfest event, it would certainly make sense for them to receive Oktoberfest themed names, soundtracks and ride announcements as well. However, I would like for any Oktoberfest themed ride announcements, ride soundtracks and names to be kept to these funfair rides, as to not disrupt the themes of the other rides around the park. So yeah, the same concept goes as for Thorpe Park pretty much. Furthermore, as is the case with the Thorpe Park Island soundtrack, I love the Alton Towers Tower Street soundtrack, therefore I'd like for any Oktoberfest soundtracks to be played around the park to be kept to the front lawn. Again, this is so that these do not disturb any of the other themes present around the park. As many of you will know, like Thorpe Park, Alton Towers is owned by Merlin Entertainment, who, as I mentioned before, love to grab money from people. Now again, in relation to the food and drink to be sold at Oktoberfest, I'd love for this to be cheaper than last year, because I heard that, you know, the hot dogs being sold at Alton Towers were £8. £8 for one hot dog! Merlin, you have gone one too far with that one. And finally, I would like for opening hours on weekends to be until 10 PM rather than the earlier time of 8 PM that they were last year. As for what Blackpool Pleasure Beach did for their 2020 Oktoberfest event, there's even less for me to talk about than for Alton Towers. It's worth noting that unlike in the case of Alton Towers and Thorpe Park, Blackpool Pleasure Beach is not owned by Merlin Entertainment. Blackpool Pleasure Beach is also an amusement park, whereas Thorpe Park and Alton Towers are theme parks. Therefore, it's understandable that they did less than Alton Towers and Thorpe Park for their Oktoberfest event, since they're not geared towards immersing guests in themed experiences. Blackpool Pleasure Beach's Oktoberfest event only took place on Saturdays, as opposed to Alton Towers' and Thorpe Park's, which took place on every day of the week. As for what Blackpool Pleasure Beach did for their 2020 Oktoberfest event, they simply sold food and held entertainment in the hub area of the park, on the former site of the Wild Mouse roller coaster. That's it. No ride announcements and no soundtracks. Thank the Lord. So what do I think we can expect at Blackpool Pleasure Beach's 2021 Oktoberfest event? Well, there's not a lot that can be said about this one. Nope. I'm not expecting any ride announcements or any soundtracks, despite the fact that Alton Towers and Thorpe Park will likely incorporate those into their events for 2021. It has however been confirmed that Blackpool Pleasure Beach will be having an umpire band playing at the event this year, similar to what Alton Towers and Thorpe Park had last year. In 2020, Blackpool Pleasure Beach had a DJ instead. I do however think that an umpire band is better than a DJ at an Oktoberfest event because it fits more with the Oktoberfest vibe. The park also stated in their 2021 season launch video that Oktoberfest will be taking place on weekends. As mentioned before, the event solely took place on Saturdays last year. However, the phrase weekends suggests that it may take place on Saturdays, Sundays and even Fridays. As for what I personally would like to see at Blackpool Pleasure Beach's 2021 Oktoberfest event, why not bring in some fun fair rides? However, in order to keep the Oktoberfest event to one area of the park, I would like for these rides to be placed around the hub, and I mean there's plenty of room around that area. I know I said before that Blackpool Pleasure Beach are unlikely to add Oktoberfest themed soundtracks and ride announcements to these rides, but I mean they could do if they wanted. Last year, Blackpool Pleasure Beach held one late night riding event during their Oktoberfest event, during which the park was open from 10 AM to 10 PM, and this is set to be the same this year. However, it would be even better if the park was open from 10 AM to 10 PM on every Saturday of Oktoberfest. I mean, they do it in summer, so why not do it in Oktoberfest as well? If the park are planning this year on holding their Oktoberfest event on more days than they did last year, then this is a great move. However, it would be even better if they held the event on every day of the week like Alton Towers and Thorpe Park. This would mean a greater number of days for people who are interested in experiencing the Oktoberfest event to do so. Be sure to hit the subscribe icon on screen now if you enjoyed this video. Furthermore, click the video on the right side of your screen to hear my thoughts on Alton Towers' brand new planned Mardi Gras event for 2021. I'm Ben, thank you so much for watching ThrillNet, and I'll see you in another video.